Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hash Rate. My name is Mark Jeffrey. My guest today is Justin Bibas of Codex. Hello, Justin.
Hello, great to be here.
It's good, dude. It's good to see you. It's been a while. You and I used to host a show called Across the Chains together. So I used to see you every Friday for, I don't know, a year or something like that.
Yeah,
so,
I miss you a little bit. Now
I miss you too.
I just look at your Twitter account and I watch you make the best calls ever constantly.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Yeah, I mean, I hide the ones that I get wrong, right? So everyone
smart, very smart, very smart. I remember you were talking about Tau, and I was like, bah. How are they going to beat the Web 2, open source stuff? And then 1,000 trillion X later, here we are. So
yeah,
I've learned to just be patient and listen to Mark generally.
Well, you're a very kind man, and let us hope the same happens for your project. So before we jump into that, I want to talk a little bit about what just happened yesterday. So David Sachs of the All In podcast was named by President Trump to be the new AI and crypto czar. Do you watch the All In pod? Do you know much about Sachs? Do you have an opinion on him?
I don't watch the All In podcast, but David Sachs seems like a pretty smart guy. I hear he has a humongous house. Those are about all the things I know about him. But I mean, I think having a VC type in office is going to be able to clear a lot of blockers for startups in the U.S. So it seems like a win.
Yeah, I think it's a great win. I mean, somebody was texting me this morning. They said, "Look, he's not a true believer, right? Like, so he's not like one of us, right? Who are like sort of rabidly believers in Bitcoin and the space in general.
Yeah,
but he does understand. He basically gets it, and he knows things like unbanking crypto companies because they're in crypto is just wrong.
Yeah, and even traditional VC gets unbanked and fintech. So. I mean, he gets it well enough, It's like
he does.
We get a pro crypto candidate for 1 month, and people are like, "We need Saylor in office," and I'm like, okay, "Let's take it maybe one term at a time here."
Yeah, I don't think we want Saylor in office. I think Saylor's probably a little over the cliff. I mean, I love Saylor, I love his energy, but I think he's a little bit much.
That may be the world's funniest administration.
Yeah, no, we don't want to clown. We do want it to be sober, and I think Sachs is the right combination of sobriety, clear thinking, and understanding of crypto, but also AI and lots of other things, and just VC in general. And tech
Maxine won't be able to sell it to like Maxine Waters.
Yeah,
because Maxine Waters, she's in charge of like my area of LA County. So I see her every once in a while at community events. And I always talk to her about stable coins, and she likes stable coins. She gets it, but you're not going to sell her on pumping Bitcoin, and so I think that's like a guy that probably understands that pretty well.
Well, I'm very hopeful based on everything I'm seeing right now. I feel like we do have the potential for a golden age. And I'm sort of parroting Mark Andreessen, but I was saying that sort of privately to my friends after the Trump win, and I saw some of the appointments start rolling in. I was like, these are the right people. I've never felt like we've had the right people in government ever. Yeah. Right. I felt like, they're okay, but there are people who are 90 times better, but because it's government, they'll never do it or they'll never get in because they'll be blocked. And for the first time, I feel like we actually have the right people doing the right things at the right time. So I think Camelot's come again. It's ours to fuck up. Right. Yeah. This time, hopefully Lancelot keeps it in his pants and, we do find the grail and, all the good stuff happens. But I think the opportunity is in front of us right now. I do think the door is open.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I think it's like, I feel like a lot of what was promised in 2016 that we didn't really see a lot of. I feel like, we might see some of it.
We might really get it this time. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty tentatively excited. I'm not a big politics guy. I generally any politician, I hear what they're saying. I'm like, all right, sure.
Dude, but I think all of us in tech felt that way. I didn't give a shit about politics at all for most of my life. Right. I was like, they're more or less the same. Who cares? As long as they're, generally good Americans. And then, but over the last 8 years, especially, it's become imperative to understand what's going on and to get involved. And, in this last election to attack. Like there's no other way to put it, right? So
I feel like this is the first time it felt like I had something to gain at the very least.
Yeah.
Personally, and that says a lot. And I haven't been through a ton of elections as an adult, and generally it's just like, okay, guy one versus guy two, things are going to be slightly different. But either I was very effectively pandered to, which sure, great, or we're actually going to see something good happen here. So I'm excited to be positioned in this way and in this industry right now. Feels good.
Yep, feels good. All right, let's talk about what you're doing, dude, because I'm totally excited to see this. So I saw a little demo of Codex. I think it was on Twitter. Somebody posted a video. It might have been you, and it basically looks sort of like ChatGPT, but but it was doing stuff and it was operating a wallet and it was scanning for the best deals for, I think it was stablecoin yield. So why don't I hand it over to you? You tell me what it is, but it looked awesome.
Sure, yeah. So we have, for the past couple of years, been building at the intersection of finance and AI. And what Codex is, that's Cod3x, Cod3x, if you want to meme about it. But it is essentially infrastructure that allows LLMs or any kind of machine learning tool, not just LLMs, but any machine learning tool to take control of a wallet securely and reliably and operate on chain. And operate on chain is totally open-ended. It can do everything from betting on Polymarket to depositing into Lido. And what we're doing with this is we're building essentially, like you said, like a Cursor AI or a ChatGPT for finance, wherein, your Fidelities or whatever, they're never going to be able to accomplish this because TradFi has so much technical debt. You could have all the stripes in the world, all the APIs in the world, and you can't achieve the level of composability and flexibility of DeFi. So we saw that as a huge opportunity to create these tools. And, of course, we can have the autonomous agents doing all sorts of stuff. I think it's going to be a few years before agents can manage, millions of dollars. But in the interim, we'll have a platform where users will be able to build transactions super fast and deploy their own agents to manage small sums or, just try them out.
So let me recapitulate what I think you said, because I think it's important to make sure this is clear. And we're gonna show it, so people are going to see it in a second here. But this is Agentic AI. So we had Morpheus on this show. We've had some other AI Agentic folks on the show, and the difference between Agentic AI and something like ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a question. It's like a search engine, right? So it waits for somebody to type something in, and then it gives an answer based on its training data and what it knows, and that's it. And then it goes away. It doesn't do anything. It just answers questions. This is like a robot made of software that you can ask it questions, but then at a certain point you can say, go do the thing, operate. And what you just said specifically is this agentic software that you've made has a wallet, or it can control your wallet. And it will then go, with your permission, of course, it will go and operate DeFi for you. So if you don't understand it, it understands it, and it will just sort of ask, you might ask it a question like, I want to get 20% yield on stable coins or higher. Find me the best yield, and then go execute the strategy using DeFi, which might be multiple steps that the user doesn't understand at all. But the robot understands it, and it goes and does all the stuff, and you don't have to worry about it. You're like, oh my God, I'm getting 40% yield on stablecoins. I don't know how, but it's happening, and the robot did it for me. Correct?
Exactly. Yeah, someone from absolutely zero information. We basically want to put them in like a mech suit, like this hyper augmentation where, hey, I know that I want to make money. I know that I want crypto exposure. I know I want this. I know I want that. And we can give them the tools to make it reality, whether it's your grandma or your niece or your nephew or whoever who maybe doesn't have the time or the energy to figure out how to do it all themselves.
Yeah. So can we see the magic? See a little demo?
You can see the magic. I'll show off our video demo here.
Yeah, that's cool. Can people, by the way, can people use this right now, or is it sort of? hidden still?
It's like 3 weeks away.
Okay.
So you can use it if you're at our developer's house. He's hosting a lot of things locally right now. So if you're in Brisbane, hit me up and we can set it up. But all right. So maybe I'll preface this. So this is showing a user journey in Codex. It was recorded on a live copy, and then some parts are chopped up a little bit. Just to make it like a little easier, like punch. But frankly, it moves pretty fast and is pretty responsive live as well.
So it's edited a little bit just for clarity, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
This part was really hard to
wallet.
build. Being able to connect your own wallet, believe it or not.
So the AI is now connecting to your wallet on your local machine, correct?
Via MetaMask, yeah.
Yes. Find me the best yield for my ETH. Okay. So it's going, "Brr, brr," using my big brain. And there we go. It's found 8% APY basically?
Yeah. And that graph is just a scribble. That's just in there for now.
Here's the quote for the base ETH strategy in Aave. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it knows how to use Aave. Okay, so these are the steps. So it basically said, okay, I figured out how to do it. Here are the steps to do it. You human, you have to approve each one of these steps. So the robots are just going to run off and do it by itself. It's going to ask me each step of the way, like, do you want to do this? How about this? How about this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty awesome, right?
Hashrate is sponsored by Ledger. With the announcement of Ledger Flex and Ledger Stacks, Ledger gives you the best security on the planet for your crypto and identity. Ledger Flex and Stacks drive an e-ink screen with the same secure chip that's in your credit card and passport. Except, instead of protecting the secrets of banks and governments, Ledger protects your secrets and your private keys. Ledger supports Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and more than 200 other tokens. The secure touchscreen, plus the Ledger Live app, means that whether you're buying your very first Bitcoin or doing your 2000th swap, you can do it securely and easily with your Ledger. And as always, use my link, shop.ledger.com/hashrate in the show notes to get the very best price whenever you buy a Ledger Flex or Stacks. That is pretty amazing. So let's break down exactly what we saw there, sort of step by step.
Yeah. Oh, I'll break it down with the actual.
Well, no, just you just verbalize it. Just
sure.
Yeah, because I mean, it went by pretty fast, and I saw it like looked at Aave, like what else did it consider and reject? Kind of break it down for us.
So step one is this was the hardest step. So Codex has its own wallet infrastructure. And that's great. That's how we allow the agents to manage things on your behalf. You can delegate tasks to them in such a way that the agent will never have access to the private key. So we have like an enclave system in the cloud, and you as the user authenticate for the agent. The agent never sees the key. So the agent has your authentication token. It authenticates in, and it can say, sign this transaction, without seeing the private key, and then that authenticated transaction gets actually signed and sent off from this secure enclave in the cloud, so that you can't like convince the agent to tell you what its private key is.
All right, question. So you say there's a secure agent in the cloud or secure enclave. Where is the wallet? Maybe I was wrong when I said it was MetaMask on my desktop. Is it like a MetaMask wallet-ish thing that's in your cloud? Like, how does that work?
So we use the cloud-based wallet for the purely agentic stuff. Like, you're going to take this money and go off and do something with it. That's kind of, it allows us to delegate effectively. But what we show here...
So just to be clear, I would have had to upload my coins to a wallet on your end that your AI controls. Is that correct or not?
Yes, you would have to like say, hey, send coins here, or we have integrated in Codex on-ramper so that you can, if we check your wallet and it has no tokens, we'll just give you on-ramper and you'll be able to put them in with your bank account. And they have a really clean, nice API that we can put in front of people. But believe it or not, what was really hard was getting it so people could use their MetaMask or their Rabby or whatever injected Web3 wallet. And the reason we did that was because, one, like, people aren't going to necessarily be comfortable handing the keys over to an AI agent. I would say, like, we're building this for ourselves and we manage our savings on chain, and you don't want to necessarily say, hey, here's this experimental AI agent, just have the keys on my bank account.
Yeah.
And so what we can do is, by doing that, we give you, with your wallet, with absolute security, the security you'd expect on any kind of cutting edge DeFi platform, we give you the same powers as the AI agent. Because then what the agent is doing is, instead of going off, coming up with these transactions and shooting them off itself, what it's doing is it's thinking up the transaction. And let's say this is a transaction that might take 4 different apps, 20 steps, 30 minutes, you get a headache. It'll take them, it'll build that entire transaction chain on its own, and maybe this is a couple different transaction chains, and it will serve them to you and say, hey, if these look good, bundle and execute. And it turns that 30 minutes into 1 or 2 minutes. And really the goal for us is, like, if we can make it so easy that you can just, as someone, let's say you just bought some ETH on a centralized exchange. They don't really have many yield products. They're hands off. The earn categories are usually pretty tepid. You can say, okay, I want to do something with these tokens. Here's Codex. We can take you from either the exchange or from your bank account or from wherever, get those tokens in your wallet, and give you the power to do anything with almost no previous knowledge. And the goal is, like, we want to get onboarding costs for DeFi and for crypto finance, generally speaking, to the level of or lower than, like, fintech user acquisition costs. And then we think we just have $1 billion company. And right now, like, advertising costs for crypto, like, per user, are exorbitant. They're huge because you have this giant wall in the middle of everything that is, like, how do you actually get the user to figure out what the hell is going on or to care? And having the nice, easy sign in with Google isn't enough. The market has proven that it's not enough. It's like the friction, sure, like, people will figure out the friction if they're motivated to, but this stuff is so complicated. It's the same reason people use managed financial products. Like, they don't want to learn how to do all this stuff. And that's what DeFi and crypto is. It's, like, so bare metal. It's like you're right on top of the wire. And, as cool as that is to you or I, the normal person doesn't want that.
Yeah, they don't get it. Normal person is just like, I just want to make money. Like,
exactly.
Robot, figure out how I make money.
That's literally like our test prompt. It's like we fund a wallet, and then we're like, okay, can we figure out what to do with what's in this wallet? And that's what we're getting pretty good at. And so we'll look at Aave. We'll look at some of our own vertically integrated DeFi protocols. So users don't need to care about this, but we'll have Codex Land. We released a new stablecoin recently that's getting a lot of traction. So we'll have, like, our great value brand, and we've got a lot of novel tech that goes into it. And then we'll let people access their Aaves, their Pendles. And really the goal is, like, for the power user, they're going to opt for the more complicated front end with more data, more information, et cetera. So we're really trying to optimize for someone who can't necessarily do the same level of due diligence. And for, like, the professional, this will just be a faster way for them to operate. Because you look at, big DeFi hedge funds like Manifold, they're managing hundreds of positions. And they have, like, people stretched so thin managing all of them, getting their 15% APR or whatever. This is a tool where it's like the same thing you're doing in Gnosis Safe, building these transactions, signing everything, whatever. You can do it through here much, much faster, signing in with your Gnosis Safe. So it's like we're giving you the same abilities, but we're 10xing your productivity.
Okay, let me stop you there, because I'm still confused about one thing. So
sure,
you said you can sign in with your Gnosis Safe. You said that I can use my local MetaMask wallet on my local machine, but you also said that there's a cloud wallet with a secure enclave. Is it that I have the option of using either one depending on what I want to do? You have both options available?
Yeah, you have both options. Right. And if you want to automate anything, So if you're just saying, I want to build this transaction, sign off on it and let it rip, then easy, we'll handle it. If you want to automate anything and put something in the hands of an AI agent, that's where you would send it to the cloud-based wallet. And that is so that we can effectively, you impart signing powers under certain circumstances to this agent, and then they can take the funds and execute a trading strategy. So we have an AI agent called Big Tony XBT on Twitter. And right now he's managing limit orders in a persistent memory, and he's profitably trading Bitcoin and ETH on Base right now. And we're just kind of using this as a way to show off the tech stack. And the thing is, we can get him on Jupiter really easily. Like, he's capable of bridging. We're kind of going to be unrolling every week new functionality. And he'll also be able to launch tokens for people from Twitter, and kind of give them access to the meme coin thing. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So basically, if I wanted to create a meme coin on Solana, Tony could do it for me.
Yeah, if he wants to. So we're giving him discretion.
If he wants, he can say no.
We're giving him a little bit
rebellious.
He's kind of like we're as funny as this is, we're modeling him after Tony Soprano a little bit, and also Peter Griffin from Family Guy.
Okay.
And he's supposed to be kind of funny. So, he's acts like a mobster a little bit. And what people will be able to do is they'll be able to say, hey, Tony, launch this token for me. Here's a picture, here's the ticker, here's the name, and here's my wallet address. And what we want him to do is we want him to look at people's wallet address. And if he doesn't like what they're holding, he'll say, get out of here. But if he does,
get the fuck out of here. I'm not launching a fucking token for you. You got wing chicken figure coin in your wallet, man.
Yeah,
I don't deal with anyone like that, right? That's the idea. Okay.
Yeah, and he'll launch it using our integrated launch pad, and then he'll share fees with you. And so we're just trying to create, we're trying to meet users where they're at. It's crypto's awesome. But unless you're really motivated, maybe a little nerdy, you're not really going to go through the effort of engaging with it. But with something like a Twitter agent, or with something like an AI terminal that lets you just get on there and immediately start doing cool stuff, that's what's exciting.
Yeah,
to
Twitter.
Us.
A Twitter interface is amazing, right? So because the idea I could just tweet to Tony the agent. Here's my ETH wallet. Go make a coin for me. Blah blah blah. This, and let's just assume Tony's okay with my stash, and he goes and does it. And I've just interacted with him via X now, and he just went and did the thing for me, and I didn't have to know how to write Solidity, no lines of code. He just gives me my cut from the meme coin that I created through him.
Yeah, and then he's going to pocket some of it and use it to trade.
Of course, he's going to pocket some of it. He's Tony, right? So I'm going to make the coin for you, but I'm going to take 20%, motherfucker.
His extortion fee.
Okay.
We've been having so much fun with it, honestly, and the thing is, it gives us a chance to test out the core tech stack. So, as always, we have this grand, highly engineered vision, but I think the cool thing about agents is it's he's just trading with our money right now, and he's entertaining, and you can watch it and you can marvel at it. And LLMs, they're not great at math yet. To make Codex a reality, it's been LLMs, machine learning, retrieval augmented generation, traditional graph algorithms, smart contract engineering. It's this crazy blended multimodal approach. But with Tony, it's hey, if he loses the money, it's our money anyway. So we just kind of give him free reign to figure it out. And we have this nice dashboard that we want to give users access to, where it's you can say roughly a trading strategy in natural language, and then he will visually analyze 4-hour, 1-hour charts, and he'll come up with a more legitimate version of that strategy, and then try to trade it. And he does a pretty good job, and he's getting better. So, it's kind of AI is just a lot of fun, really. And, our experience in DeFi kind of gives us an interesting edge in creating these really highly secure, highly reliable systems that are needed for AI, because People who think I'm going to train an LLM and it's going to trade and it's going to be competitive and it's not going to lose anybody's money, they've got, unfortunately, a lot of really difficult mountains to climb.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, you have very, very deep understanding and experience with building and using DeFi over a period of multiple years, right? So I guess like 5 or 6 years or whatever, however long DeFi has been around, something like that. Right? I mean, you've basically been there for the whole thing. So
close to 5 years now, yeah.
Yeah. So, and that kind of understanding and knowledge is hard won, and it's not something that somebody coming in from the LLM space is going to pick up quickly. They're not even going to know what a good strategy is or what the options are, right? So, just sort of coming off the street from the LLM world.
Yeah, it's like if you know how prop traders work, and you use like proprietary trading algorithms as your benchmark, it's like LLMs are never, ever, ever going to get there on their own.
Well, you said they're bad at math, right? So, and they are. So how does your LLM do math? Do you have like routines and pieces of it that are not LLM that it interacts with to sort of reach conclusions?
Yeah, so it's essentially like this layered system. What LLMs are really amazing at, especially with retrieval augmented generation, which is where it's essentially like using your input to query a database and then using what it gets from the database to actually come up with something like smart consistently. What we can do is we can use these superpowers as like the core onboarding tool. This is what is taking a user from zero information to power user instantly. So if you can muster enough intellect to express that you want to make money, Codex can figure out how. And then from there, we depend on traditional graph algorithms, so recommendation algorithms, pathfinding algorithms, et cetera, where we can look at your wallet, we can intuit roughly what kind of risk profile you have. Okay, they're holding Bitcoin ETH. It's a fairly new wallet. We're going to assume Aave is maybe as deep as you'd go. But if you're holding like, DeFi, mid caps, meme coins, whatever, we know that, okay, this person is in the trenches for better or worse. And from there, it's like we have this, I don't want to say it's massive, but it's pretty dang big, database of routes where we've essentially created a menu for our AI to select from. So it's not so much I'm going to purely pull this out of thin air. It's here are highly vetted, highly engineered routes that you can choose. And then once it chooses that route, we have a natural language API that basically covers all of DeFi with natural language error handling such that we can do reinforcement training, and we can kind of improve how we interact with this system. And then for us, it's like LLMs take care of the most difficult half, being getting the user to a point where they can actually do this stuff. And the rest is like, okay, we have the search algorithms, we make discovery super easy, and it's also much faster that way. And you can use smaller models in general.
So when you say routes, let's talk about that for just a second.
Sure.
So that is basically the menu of DeFi products that's basically in your head and mine, right?
Yeah.
Over the last 5 years, we kind of know all of them more or less.
Yeah.
So Aave does lending. That's where you might go for lending, right?
Yeah.
Or Uniswap is where you go. You might stake tokens there as liquidity to earn transaction fees, knowing that you will suffer impermanent loss from being in the liquidity pools and sort of what that means and what that looks like. These are routes. These are strategies. That's what you mean, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, okay, the Pendle route, if someone is looking for a really high amount of yield, we might immediately route to Pendle or Ethena. If somebody is like, hey, I want to trade meme coins, we'll route them to Jupiter. If somebody's like, maybe somebody just asks, hey, like, can you give me some trading insight? And it'll route to a financial data set, and it'll route to our trading view route, and it'll analyze some charts and say, hey, this is what's going on now. And it gives like really, really fabulous technical analysis. even without knowing math super well, it can read like visually charts and give you like good information. Like, hey, looks a little oversold right now. Here are some price levels to look out for. And obviously, technical analysis. You can take it or leave it. But Tony right now is using that tech to post price levels that he's using to manage his limit orders.
Okay. Okay. So you have all these routes, and you have. So are these? What blockchains do you currently support? Are you on Solana? Are you? I mean, obviously you're on Ethereum, but what else are you on? What else are you looking at?
Yeah, you'll think this is maybe funny. So we support every single EVM network on Chainlist, which is 1,400 networks.
Holy shit!
And how many of those are actually functional? Not sure. We support Solana. We support XRP, Bitcoin, Doge, Bitcoin Cash, EOS, Hedera, probably some other like random chains.
You support EOS? Oh my god!
Yes, dude. Yeah, it's like Cosmos chains. Yeah, it's like basically the flow for us is like all we need to do is give it the tools it needs to build transactions, and then the rest is like just creating the routes. So it's like, okay,
holy shit.
They use this cryptographic schema. They need this, this, and this to actually build a transaction. And it's quite easy. Like supporting a new network, it takes very little. Bitcoin is one of the hardest ones to support. But yeah, you can do anything with our agents.
Okay, so we're talking. So all right, way better. Way more things I would have ever guessed. I figured you're going to say, well, we got it running on Ethereum, but like nothing else, and we'll get to everything else later. Like I thought that honestly,
right now.
or Base, right? Yeah. So you'll support the new Sonic chain when that comes up. Pretty soon.
We'll probably be there with an agent much like Tony, just because that's a crowd that I like to entertain. yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So do you? All right. I have to ask this question. So you say you support Bitcoin, and I understand that means raw Bitcoin on the native Bitcoin chain. Mm-hmm. What about like sort of extended Bitcoin, like BRC20s and runes, and some of the newer things that are popping up over there?
So we talked about it a lot at one point. So I will say maybe. I'm not sure if we actually built everything out because there was a time where we were talking a lot to like oil and some of the other people building Bitcoin DeFi and some of the indexers and stuff. So we might have very light support, but that's something that, we've been looking at for a long time. And I'll tell you, like I've tried to buy BRC20s on Magic Eden. They do not make it easy at all.
No, it's not easy. It's not like our world at all. That's very different.
Could probably use Codex. Honestly, I'll tell you, I told like Jörn, Beefy, I told all of our colleagues this like 2 years ago. I was like, guys, AI is going to make yield aggregators totally obsolete. It's going to make front ends totally obsolete. And something like buying BRC20s, like going from your bank account to purchasing, like Codex could handle that entire flow pretty easily. So I'm 100% sure we'll see some opportunity there.
Well, that's pretty interesting because the big thing that's really hard about BRC20s and runes, I use Unisat, but you could use Magic Eden. But in both cases, you can only buy the parcels that are available. So you can't just say like, I want to buy 2,833 pizza BRC20s from the pool, like you can in regular DeFi and Ethereum and all these other places, either on a DEX or a centralized exchange. No, because the only way it's sold to you is there's 100 pizza tokens at $4.33. Then there's 200 at $4.36, right? It's like that. So you have to buy each one, and it's like, 3 approvals per parcel. So it is extremely difficult to buy or sell in that universe. So it very much needs this kind of automation just for dopey stuff, right? Just so I don't have to sit there for 5 hours trying to buy or sell my pizza, right?
Yeah,
so, yeah.
And it is like it would be pretty easy for us to create that routine and then say, hey, like here's all this crazy asynchronous stuff. It can't be compiled into one transaction. It's going to be slow, but here's this agent. It has a pre-programmed routine, so it's really reliable. You send it, your zero point 0.1 Bitcoin, and it'll go ahead and buy whatever you need it to buy. And then you come back, and it's like, oh, there it is. And that's kind of like the phone game experience, where it's like every phone game has these weird mechanics where it's like you could click on this, now it takes 30 minutes to build, go on a run and come back. That I think is the level of UX we would achieve.
What is a phone game? I don't know about this. What is this thing you've just said? Beavis?
Yes, I'm back. Sorry. I'll wave my hands.
Okay. Yep, I wave my hands. So go ahead.
Did you ask what a phone game was?
Yeah, you said it's like this phone game, and I'm like, what is that? You mean like a game of telephone, or is there some game I don't know about?
Every phone game, like Clash of Clans, for example, all the top phone games, what they do is they make it so that, okay, you build a structure, you build your town, you click this button to build it, and it's going to take 30 minutes, or you can spend $2 on a microtransaction to make it complete instantly. That's literally the state of phone games right now.
Yeah. I didn't know that. Okay, so basically, you can pay for speed, right? That's basically what it boils down to.
Yeah, unfortunately, you won't be able to pay for speed here because we're beholden to Bitcoin. But maybe we'll figure something out with Lightning. But I don't think that's going to make anything process faster at the Bitcoin level.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay. All right. So what about bridging? So you're on all these multiple chains. What bridges are you aware of and or cross-chain dexes like Thorchain and things like that?
Yeah. So, I mean, we support Thorchain and Chainflip. So you can bridge with Chainflip. You can bridge with Li-Fi. Those are the only two at the moment. Although we found Li-Fi's list of bridges or list of infrastructure is really highly curated. So it'll probably plug into like Axelar as well. And potentially even some of the longer tail bridge infrastructure that's popping up. But we cover any route that most people would want to cover. And then, I mean, for us, anything we don't cover, that's like a conversation where we can be like, give us $100 and we'll integrate it.
Yeah, I mean, Axelar, the Squid Router universe, like that has never failed me. Like I've been actually sort of astonished at how good that is. Right after multi-chain went under, with the whole disaster on Phantom that we all know and felt pain over. When Squid Router and Axelar arose, that was my new multi-chain immediately. So they really picked up a lot of the slack there. We'll integrate them. Li-Fi already plugs into them, but Li-Fi doesn't cover all their routes. So it's like you need to get listed on Axelar and then convince Li-Fi to list you. But they're managing like the Binance bridges, they're managing the Robinhood bridges. So it's like a really trusted name. Very interesting. So how much does this all? So you've got a product. And it's not finished yet, but you're sort of getting there. And it costs money to run these LLMs, right? So the inference does suck GPU. How do you view your business model down the road when this becomes a real business? And how do you charge people? Do you charge people? Do you use something like BitTensor and Tau to supplement or augment, defray the costs as you go along? How do you think about that side of the business?
Yeah. So right now, like the reason that we can create AI products like this is because we have like our DeFi infrastructure is pretty profitable. So our main source of revenue actually comes from our stablecoin, which people don't really need to care about. It's very much like a B2B sort of operation. We serve big, high, octane yield farmers and stuff. So when it comes to Codex AI, it's like the main thing we're thinking about to start is purely B2B in terms of how we generate revenue in service of the user. So you think about the business model of Etherscan. It's like, okay, Etherscan, hugely expensive. They're indexing all these transactions. They're creating all these tools. They have this big brand name. The way they make money is they charge big networks like millions of dollars a year to integrate. So what we see Codex AI doing is kind of fulfilling the onboarding role for chains, wherein we can talk to an Optimism, or we can talk to an Arbitrum or a Scroll or whoever, create this scroll.codex.org or optimism.codex.org, superchainbase.codex.org, where users can land in the ecosystem specifically and onboard from their bank account and really easily interact with the ecosystem. And a cool thing about this is just all of the data that we have. It's very easy to support incentive programs. It's very easy for a network to be like, hey, I want to spend $10 million on onboarding this year. And we can not only handle the experience of onboarding for users, but also handle issuance of incentives and other kind of minor details like that. So that's really kind of where we're thinking, is just getting foundations to subsidize a majority of the cost. And then we've also considered things like using tokens as a way for people to pay for compute, wherein, they can potentially stake our stablecoin in the app and get free tokens that they can then spend on compute. They can spend USDC, or they can spend tokens they already have on compute. And that is a little bit iffier, just because, how do we get the right tokens in these people's hands? Is it going to be a hassle? Is it going to be high friction? So we're kind of pushing that as far away from our launch as we can, just trying to get as much subsidized by firms so that users don't have to bear the cost.
That is a totally different answer than what I expected you to say. So I did not know that you were going to. So that's why you call the agent Tony, hey, Optimism, it'd be a shame if your fucking chain, our AI didn't know about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. It's not like that, but it is like that. You're basically going to charge the chains. That's interesting. I didn't like that. I didn't realize was a thing.
Yeah, and we can charge the team. It's like, hey, your Pendle, your stuff is hard to use. We'll do it. You pay this amount a month, or you give us this type of grant. We'll plug in there, and we'll make it really easy for new users. And that's why we're so fixated on onboarding costs, because we want to solve that problem for any team. Wherein, hey, if you're integrated in Codex, you've unlocked enterprise, Web 2 enterprise scale. And, you look at Pendle's economics, how much they're spending in yield, how much they're spending in tokens, et cetera, compared to how much they're earning. It's abysmal. And this is a, revolutionary product. And
hugely successful too. Pendle I've used it myself. Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's
I agree.
Awesome, dude. It's good tech. And I think really it's just a matter of time, chipping away at onboarding costs, chipping away at kind of these issues that are preventing scale. And so it'll be a somewhat easy sell to say, hey, subsidize this amount of compute for all your users for this period of time. And then maybe once a user hits the ceiling, we can say, get a subscription or get some credits or whatever. But yeah, we just don't want users to have to pay for it.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. You absolutely want to hook users on, because I would love the idea of, here, analyze my wallet. If I'm not gonna, I'm basically just gonna let all this stuff sit there for the most part. What should I be doing? How could I be earning yield on all this stuff? Can you find something for me? And I think my wallets are pretty dopey at the moment, so I'm not really, I know what I'm doing with the stables and things like that. So I don't think it's going to find anything, but maybe it'd surprise me. Maybe it'd be like, no, you can earn 80% yield on XYZ, and I think you can only get 16%, right? So that's possible.
Yeah, and the thing is, maybe this is some interesting alpha. People are earning right now hundreds of percent APR doing a delta neutral cash and carry trade on the Hype token on a single platform. So on Hyperliquid, they buy Hype spot, they short it perp, and the funding rates are hundreds of percent. And especially when the markets are frothy, it's crazy. And you can find that sort of yield for almost any asset as long as there's a liquid enough venue. So you'd be surprised when things heat up. You don't want to necessarily maintain that position yourself. It's relatively easy, but it's you'll maybe be sweating. But you can set up an automation with Codex to whip that up for any asset. And then you don't necessarily need to buy the stable coin and accept the 20%, 30% fee or whatever. It's like, suddenly this is accessible to me as someone who could maybe figure it out anyway. But, we have families, we have personal lives. We don't need to be sweating about, high risk positions potentially shedding value while we're eating dinner. So that's like,
I've done that too, by the way. I've experimented with that.
Dude, yeah.
We all have.
I've experimented with shedding value
power
while I was eating dinner.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I definitely I did some low power experiments with perp dexes, partly because I just wanted to understand what was going on, right? So I'd never bought futures before. I had never done anything, even in the traditional markets.
Yeah.
So when perp dexes came along, and specifically I got the guy from Quenta, Kwaenta, really great dude. And he basically did a perp dex on, I think it was Optimism at the time. And he was using synthetics under the hood, right? So I hadn't really, and so that created demand for SUSD, which was the synthetic stable coin, because all the positions were constructed using SUSD, right? Yeah. And then I constructed a position, and I did it on Phantom, because Phantom was like at 17 cents. And I looked back and I said, well, historically, it never goes below 17 cents, or some idiot will always buy it, when it bops down to 16%, right? Every time, right? So I'm like, okay, it's not going to sink. So if I use like 3x leverage here, that's pretty responsible, right? So it would have to go down to like 6 cents, right, in order for me to be liquidated at 3x leverage. Yeah. So I did that, and it totally worked. I was absolutely right about that. It bopped up to like 70 cents. So with 3x leverage, so that was a really good trade. Very smart. Yeah. However, I didn't know. Wait, let me just finish. So I didn't know about the funding rate, right? So I just didn't know that it existed. So every day I come in, I'm like, why the fuck does it because I calculated, I'm like, why is it less? Then I saw this little thing up in the right-hand corner, funding rate. And I'm like, what's that? And it's like, you're bleeding a little bit every day because basically you're borrowing from the shorts, right? Like that's what it boils down to. So you have to pay them, right? Mm-hmm. So, and that's how I learned about funding rates. So then when Athena came along and the delta neutral hedge thing, I was like, oh, I understand exactly what that is, right? Yeah. But I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't done all the experiments that I did on Quenta, right? So
yeah, it's awesome. I mean, really, it's just like a hedge fund. It's like, here's a DeFi hedge fund, and here's this composable receipt that is pegged to $1, ideally, assuming there's not some kind of depeg incident. And that's like so crazy cool. And now you can take this hedge fund exposure and get a loan out on it somewhere else, or lever up on it, which a lot of people are doing in really significant size. If you looked interest rates on Aave for USDC from people doing that with USDE, Athena stablecoin, 30% people are paying for USDC. Absolutely crazy. It's just opened up like a whole new world of yield that is really scalable. And it's going to scale foreseeably with demand in the industry, and maybe eventually, funding reaches parity and the yield isn't so consistent. But for now, the longs are willing to pay for the exposure. So happy to take the other side of that trade generally.
The longs are willing to pay. So I just want to go back to the alpha that you gave us, because I want to make sure I understand it, and more importantly, the audience understands it. So you said the funding rates on the delta neutral hedge for what? Are these meme coins that you're talking about? The people
for Hype. The Hype token is hundreds of %.
The Hype token itself.
A lot of people are doing the cash and carry trade
that?
On Hyperliquid.
Is that, sorry, I don't know. That's a meme coin? That's something else? What is that?
Oh, the Hype token? Oh my gosh, Mark, your viewers are going to
probably, but there's some things I don't pay attention to. So go ahead, tell us what it is.
Hyperliquid is right now the darling of crypto Twitter and maybe even the darling of retail, generally speaking. It's a perps dex. Or it's a decentralized exchange that has perps and spots or spot trading, and a high performant EVM based L1 network that right now in kind of these early production environments is doing like 200,000 TPS in the execution environment, and that's without much decentralization. we'll see what happens when they add some redundancy there. But they just did an airdrop that right now is worth over $2 billion. So it's like a $10 billion company. They airdropped $2 billion of it, and it was all self-funded, no VCs involved, by this guy named Jeff. Jeff.hl. And he's just an absolute Chad, and the team is just really, really, really cracked. And he used to be a really high volume market maker and prop trader. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to change finance forever and make Hyperliquid. So they just launched their token, and people are so bullish on this token that on a single platform, without KYC, you can cash carry trade this thing totally delta neutral and get paid big time to do it. And so a lot of people are buying the token spot to do the cash and carry trade, which is pumping the spot price.
Oh my God.
And it's just it's honestly insane. It's maybe the biggest airdrop of the past year or two or three, maybe since.
How did people qualify for that airdrop? Or was it just you used other networks?
It was super easy. It was literally like you bridge onto the network, and then you like open, you do a few trades, and you could get, five figures, 6 figures airdrop to you.
Wow.
And Holy shit. Right now they're doing like 10 billion of volume a day some days. It's like they're huge, and it's organic. It's like real because they're not giving out points anymore. They're not giving out incentives. People are just using it because it's good. And they total case study for every founder, I think, their whole journey and how they found product market fit and scaled and did their airdrop. It's like one of the few projects in recent memory where everybody was so happy. The team was happy, the users, the airdrop recipients, and no VCs involved.
That's amazing. Yeah. So how do you think, just a little side note on that then. So with something like Phantom Sonic, they're basically getting 10,000 transactions per second, sub-second finality though. So that's, and true decentralization. Yeah. That's always an arguable one, but I think more or less legitimately true decentralization.
Pretty good
right?
Decentralization, I think, for Phantom.
And that seemed like very hard won technology that took multiple years to get to. Yeah. How does the new Sonic chain compete in a world where you got something like Hype that's got 200,000 transactions per second, or Solana's million per second? Can they compete in that world or not?
Yeah, so all of these kind of upcoming parallel EVM plays. So Hyper BFT, Hyperliquid is clearing 200K, mostly because it's centralized right now. I would say like your Phantoms, your Monads, your Hyperliquids. Say now has a parallelized EVM or will very soon. I think like Phantom is about as good as you're going to get in the a few thousand plus, like 3 to 10,000 range. And the thing is, you don't need many more than that. Solana is 2,000 TPS, and people building on Solana have a hard time managing all that throughput because like being able to manage state when you're pushing that many transactions with an application like just a regular app as a front end is really hard, really, really hard. So I would say, Phantom stands up really well. And I think Phantom is going to have a hard time filling that block space, period. And you can look at something like Hedera, who had a novel execution environment. It wasn't EVM, so it didn't really get the same traction, but, they, excuse me, they were able to do a ton of TPS, and they had like these ad firms that were using it for a bunch of different reasons, and there was a lot of throughput. But even they, like with things that we don't even think about in EVM, we're having a hard time filling block space. So I think maybe a decade from now we'll need more than 2 to 10,000. But something like Sonic, to me, it's like a really good balance of decentralization, throughput. And I think also like lindiness. So you look at Hyperliquid, you look at something upcoming like Monad. If I'm a buyer of tokens, I personally like Phantom because it's been around forever. It's really well distributed. A lot of people know about it. A lot of people have opinions on it, for better or worse. They don't need to fight for attention. And that's really cool to me. And so, yeah, I don't think there's any, like, Paradigm released Reth, which is Rust-based, a Rust-based EVM client. And now it's much easier to build these hyper-optimized EVMs thanks to Paradigm. And my assumption is, like, all these people are building some variant of Reth because you'd be foolish not to at the very least, like, learn from how they did it. And all these L2s that are advertising 100K TPS or whatever, they're all using Paradigm's Rust-based Ethereum client because it's much easier to parallelize like that.
Very interesting. Okay. Well, we're coming up on the hour mark here. So let's, any closing thoughts before I let you go? Anything on your mind that's of interest? And how can people find you?
Yeah. I think the last thing I'll say is AI is very, very cool. And it has a very, very long way to go before it does everything we want it to do. It's kind of like the flying car situation. We have cars now. How hard could it be to make them fly? I mean, right now we've got a lot of developers, my team included, trying to make them fly. But as far as, like, where to learn about Codex, I would say the best place is the Codex Twitter account. So Cod3x Codex.org on Twitter. You can go ahead and follow me, OXBeebus_. And stuff that we don't want to post from the main account, you'll generally hear from me. And then follow our agent, Big Tony XBT, and watch him trade and hopefully keep making money. And then overall, I would say, just keep hanging out in the industry with us, and we'll probably bump into each other eventually, no matter what.
Well, this has been super cool and super enlightening, Mr. Beebus. Always a pleasure to see you, my friend. And I think this is a hot product. I think you've done something pretty awesome here. I remember when I first saw the demo on Twitter, I was like, oh my, I didn't realize it was you. And I was like, who's doing this? This is amazing. And then I figured out I was like, oh, it's just Beebus. And I was like, oh, wait. But no, of course I hold you in high esteem and all that, but I just didn't know it was just you, right?
Oh yeah. It's our first step out of the DeFi world, and we've been working on it for a long, long time. So I hope everyone in the audience ends up liking it. So yeah, I appreciate the spot here, Mark. And if anybody has any questions that's listening, don't hesitate to message me or join the Discord or spam me, whatever you need.
I can't wait for the front door to open because I can't wait to use this thing. So I'll be watching for opening day. So
I'll make sure I give you the earliest access possible.
Yes, please do. Please do. All right, buddy. My name is Mark Jeffrey. This has been Hash Rate. We'll see you all next time.